Welcome to our second annual Mega Wellness Summit, where we are transforming lives one aha moment at a time. I'm your host, Nikki Jensen, and thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this event with your friends and family. Today's guest is definitely going to be one of your favorites. Dr. Isha is in the house today, and we're talking all about Ayurvedic medicine. Welcome, Dr. Isha. Thank you so much for being on Mega Wellness Summit. How are you?
Hi, Nikki. Namaste, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so grateful that you're able to be a part of the summit and to share your knowledge of Ayurvedic medicine. I mean, you have a whole gamut and background of natural medicine, and I love that. And I'm excited to get started. Yeah, absolutely. So what is Ayurvedic medicine for those that don't know?
Okay, Ayurvedic medicine is a traditional medical system of India. It is more than 5,000 years old, and it has its roots in what we call the ancient texts known as the Vedas. So there are 4 Vedas, and Ayurveda finds its root in these 4 ancient texts. Now, these texts are said to be the first texts ever written, ever known to mankind. And it was sent down from the gods, the Hindu gods that we believe in. And the knowledge of Ayurveda, the knowledge of engineering, the knowledge of so many other facets of life are all included in these Vedas. These are these great books that are written about how life should be lived on earth. And Ayurveda is a medical science that was given to mankind to help them live long lives and achieve, all the things that they want to achieve in life, and to do it comfortably with good health. So that is what Ayurvedic medicine is all about. That's where it comes from. It's based on, natural herbal supplements that we give. Basically, it's lifestyle changes that a person has to make. And living correctly, that's the foundation of Ayurveda, is living correctly, living in tune with nature, because we are a part of nature. We are one with nature. And so this is what Ayurveda is based on, these principles.
I love that. Now, what is a typical Ayurvedic diet?
A typical Ayurvedic diet is one that matches your constitution. So how do I say this? If you have to eat certain foods, it has to be compatible with your body, because Ayurveda is based on the 5 elements. Okay, we are all made up of the 5 elements. And that is, earth, air, water, fire, space, right? So the food that we consume is made up of the same 5 elements. Now, in each of our bodies, the principle of Ayurveda is that each of our bodies is made up of these 5 elements in different ratios. So some person may have more air in their body. Some person may have more fire in their body. Some person may have more water in their body. So each person is different. And the diet is based on these elements. So you have to take something that is compatible with how your genetic makeup is built. That is the best diet for your body. So say, for instance, you have a lot of air in your body. Then you know that the air element is going to go out of balance if you consume foods that also have that, predominance of air element, right? So if your body has to consume the food that's made up of that air element when you already have it predominantly in your body, you're going to throw your body out of balance. Okay, that's the one of the main things about Ayurveda, is that we use the opposites to treat disease. Okay, so
how
if there's
a lot of go ahead.
Yeah. If we see, you are about to ask me, how do I know that? There are several characteristics that we have to look at and analyze a person from. So it's not as easy as just saying, okay, you have certain preferences of food, you live in a certain environment, or things like that. It goes far deeper than that. We look at several different things. We look at a person's digestion. We look at a person's elimination. We look at a person's behavioral patterns. Like if somebody is very short-tempered, we can say that the fire element is very high in their body. Whereas you get some people who are just, medium temperament. They don't really get very angry. So we take all these things into consideration before we determine what constitution you are and what is beneficial for you.
So just by looking at a person, you wouldn't be able to determine what kind of diet that they would need to be on.
Well, I can say that a really experienced Ayurvedic doctor would be able to do that. But just off the bat, no, it's not that easy.
No, okay. Now, there are names, right? There's KAPHA, there's, I'm blanking on the other ones. Help me out.
Okay, there's 3 main, what we call doshas. That's VATA, PITTA, and KAPHA.
Say it one more time.
It's VATA, PITTA, and KAPHA.
Okay, VATA. Okay, can you describe the 3 doshas in detail for me?
Okay, so I already told you that the human body is made up of the 5 elements, right? Mm-hmm. So out of these 5 elements, we can divide them into 3 different categories, what I just told you, the 3 doshas. So Vata is predominantly made up of air and space. Okay? Pitta is made up of fire and water. And Kapha is made up of water and earth. These elements. Okay? So now in the environment, we have these doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And in the human body, we have these doshas as well, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Now, this is not to say that a person only has one of these. Okay? Every person has all 3. We just, like I said before, we have them in different ratios. Okay? So some people have more Vata qualities, meaning that they have more air and space element in their body. Some people have more of the fire element, Pitta element. Okay? So they have more fire and they have more water in their body. And then you get people who have predominance of Kapha dosha, which is more earth element and more water element. Okay. Now in the environment, we see the same 5 elements. They play out the same way in everything. Okay. So when we look at foods, for example, foods have predominance of these doshas as well. You get foods that are very dry. You get foods that are very spicy. You get foods that are very oily. So you can see these same characteristics in the foods that you eat and in our body. Okay?
Mm-hmm. So what if you have somebody – go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask you if you wanted me to elaborate on anything else.
Well, let me ask you this. For somebody who has problems with their lungs, right, they're very mucusy, right. What would you categorize that, or how would you be able to help somebody with either respiratory problems or somebody who's more on the more water? I would say it's wet, especially around their chest.
Okay, so in Ayurveda we have these doshas, right? And of these doshas we have 5 types. They're broken up into 5 subtypes. So of Vata dosha we have 5 subtypes. Of Pitta we have 5 subtypes, and of Kapha we have 5 subtypes. So apart from that, we have them in different locations. Their predominance in different locations of the body. In the head region, in the the region above the clavicle, we have more Kapha dosha. So that's why people suffer with sinusitis, rhinitis, things like that. Lots of mucus comes out from that portion of the body, right? Right. Then in the middle portion of the body, we have the fire element, because this is where digestion takes place. Okay? So you need fire in order to burn up the food. And then in the lower part of the body, we have Vata dosha, which is like air, it's movement, it is responsible for excretion. So having said this, we can understand that the doshas are predominant in those parts of the body. But they travel all over the body. Every cell has each of these doshas in it. It has the fire element because it can digest. It has the water element, and it has the air element because it can move around. as well, right? So if somebody has congestion, they have a respiratory disorder. As an Ayurvedic physician, I would firstly have to analyze their constitution and see, because certain constitutions have more predominance to certain disorders. Now, say if somebody has a constitution that is very high in the water element, from birth, they've always been prone to this. Now, at this time of period where they have this disorder, where they have respiratory problems, we have to look at the several factors causing this problem. One, it could be, they're predisposed to it because they have the constitution, so it's naturally going to happen. Then you have to look at the environment they're in, okay? If they are in an environment that is causing this problem, say, for instance, they live in a really damp area, that is one causative factor. Then you have to look at the foods that they eat. Now, I told you the foods have the same elements. So if the foods have the same elements that their constitution is made up of, you can definitely see that the foods are increasing this problem in them. Now, I'll give you the example of some mucus-forming foods. Dairy products, cheese, yogurt, having cold products, like milk at night predominantly, things like that. You have to take into consideration all these factors when you treat a person. But the main principle of Ayurveda is to remove the causative factor. We don't comment on just, subsiding symptoms. That's not how Ayurveda works. We have a principle called Nidan Parivarchana. Nidan is the cause, and Parivarchana means to remove. So what we do is we remove the causative factors of the disorder. If somebody is having respiratory problems and they are in an environment that is supporting that, we have to try to remove them from that environment. If they are having certain foods that is supporting that, we have to tell them to stop consuming that food. And then we give them medicine. And when we give them medicine, the principle of Ayurveda treats with opposites. So if they are having a lot of mucus, a lot of phlegm, a lot of water content, we have to treat them with medicines and herbs and minerals that are dry in nature, because that is how you can treat them. Okay, you treat them with the opposites.
And what is dry in nature?
Dry in nature, we will use things like ginger powder, for example, cinnamon powder, cardamom, things like that. We will include all of those spices in their food and in some herbal drinks and things like that. Those are drying things, and they will counteract the mucus.
Great. Now, what about somebody who has IBS?
IBS is, you cannot just determine that you have irritable bowel syndrome on your own, for example. You have to go to a physician, and there's several tests that you have to go through. And IBS is more, all the doshas can be involved in disorders. It's not one specific dosha that is responsible for any disease. That is the rule of Ayurveda, is that when you have a disorder, there is a presence of all the elements out of balance. So if somebody has IBS, they have to go to a physician, and the physician has to determine which dosha it is that is really predominant and lower that dosha. Of course, there's preventative measures and things like that, but you have to see an Ayurvedic physician in order to really treat the cause of the problem. Because, if I had to give someone advice, I would just be giving them symptomatic relief, because I would have to determine firstly what the cause of the problem is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always the root of the problem that we should get to. And I love that about Ayurvedic medicine, is because we look at the cause and not just the symptom like Western medicine does.
Yeah.
And so it's so wonderful to have Ayurvedic physicians to determine what is the cause of disease. So, what about somebody who is more on the drier side? Would you recommend milk or dairy for them?
Yes, definitely. There's a big controversy that's going on, especially in the U.S. I've noticed it quite a bit, is that people are saying milk is bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people don't want to have milk. And the truth is, milk has been consumed by human beings since the beginning of time. So why is it now that human beings are having a problem? It's not the milk that's the problem. It's the chemicals that's put in the milk that is the problem. Mm-hmm. Apart from it being the chemicals that's in the milk that's giving a person the reaction, you have to understand that the body reacts based on what's going on in the body. Okay? So if somebody is reacting to something, it's because there's an imbalance in their body. Okay? Their immunity is affected somehow. And this is because every person, and I mean every person, is considered unhealthy. There is nobody who can really tell me that they are truly healthy, because health is measured by balance of several things in Ayurveda. And there's no human being on earth who can tell me that they have balance of all of those things. So nobody is truly healthy. And when it comes to most human beings and most of us, especially in the U.S., we face a lot of toxins, chemicals, poison even in our foods. And this results in us having what we call ama. Ama is undigested material in the body. Okay, and as a result of this ama, our channels are blocked. All our channels become blocked because this ama, this undigested food material, gets deposited in these channels. And then when we have things like milk, we react to it. And when we react to it, we say that there's something wrong with the milk. But in actual fact, it's not necessarily something wrong with the milk. It's something wrong with our bodies. Right?
But don't we lose our lactase, our milk enzymes, after the age of 5?
No, I think that milk can be consumed by everybody at all times. And, in Ayurveda, we have several medicines that are prepared in milk. So I don't know. This is more of a Western concept. It's a newer concept, and it's more to justify why milk should not be consumed. But the truth is, milk has been consumed for centuries, and it's only now that people are having a problem because, of course, the milk is not produced to the best quality. That is definitely one problem.
Sure. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And so when we have a good source of milk, what does that look like? Because I've heard that there are 2, maybe even more than 2 types of cows. There's an A1 cow and there's an A2 cow. And they're saying that one is better than the other. And have you heard of that?
I've not really heard of that, but I do believe that any product from grass-fed cows is better to consume, whether it is the meat, whether it is the milk, whether it is the cheese made from the milk, anything that is, grass-fed, how it should be, basically, how it should be in nature. You know, if it's giving it to you naturally the way that it's supposed to be, it will be fine. But if you are going to have, milk from cows that have been mistreated, firstly, they have lots of hormones themselves. These hormones are going into the milk that you're going to be drinking. So what is it going to do? Because everything is going to have an impact.
Right.
So I would definitely suggest, products, if you are going to have milk from grass-fed cows. That is the best.
What if you currently already do have an allergy to milk and you know that you cannot digest it? What do you do for that?
Okay, if a person is not able to digest milk, if they're not able to digest lactose, they need to have a full detoxification of their body. In Ayurveda, that's what I would suggest. If someone came to me and they told me, look, I cannot digest milk, I cannot digest certain things, I immediately know that there's toxin in the body and it needs to be eliminated. then the digestion of the body needs to be improved. So firstly, the line of treatment that I would give, it is known in Ayurveda as Panchakarma. Panchakarma is the 5 cleansing procedures that we would do. And you have to cleanse the person of all the toxins in their body, and then you have to improve their digestive capacity. And once you can improve the digestive capacity, you'll be able to digest pretty much anything.
So somebody listening today wants to contact you because they're having an issue with their digestion and they want your advice. How would they go about doing that and seeing you as their physician, even though they're not in your area?
They can definitely contact me online. I have my websites up. It's drisha.com and yogicherbalhealthcare.com.
Great.
So they can definitely contact me that way. They can contact me via Facebook as well. I have my page, Dr. Isha. They can find me on there. They can send me a message on there, and I can contact them.
Okay.
Right now, I don't have any specific program. What I would do is I would consult with them. I would speak with them for maybe an hour and a half. Usually I do my consultations on something like Skype or any type of like chat service where I can physically see them, because that's really important for me. I need to be able to see the patient to determine, how they look, first of all, because a really good physician can determine the constitution of someone by how they look. So I would need to do that, and then I could speak with them, and then I determine, what their constitution is, what illnesses they have, and I can advise them on certain medicines and certain, diet changes and regimens that they need to make in order to get better.
I see. Now, I
don't have any specific programs as such because each person is different. So we have to treat them according to how their genetic makeup is. I don't have these specific programs and try to fit every person into that, because that's not how we were designed.
I love that. Perfect answer. Perfect. Now, I was watching one of your videos on YouTube. You have a very active YouTube channel that I love. And you were talking about, I hope that everybody can go to your YouTube channel and check it out, because you do have some very insightful information on there. But one of the things that you mentioned was that the use of metals to heal the body, and I'm very curious about that, because I've always said we need to detox the metals out of our body, and you're saying to put them in.
Yes. So in Ayurveda, we have a whole science. It's an entire science that is called Rasa Shastra. Rasa refers to mercury. Okay, mercury is like the king of the metals. It's considered the king of the metals, and Shastra means the study of. So Rasa Shastra is it's an entire science on its own. It is combined with Ayurveda, but it's an entire science on its own that is also, about 5,000 years old. And in this science, we have learned that metals and minerals come from the earth. Now, again, it goes back to the same principles that we are made up of the 5 elements, right? So these metals and minerals are actually so powerful because they come directly from the earth. So if they have the power to destroy the body when they are in the body unpurified, can you imagine when they are purified the power they have to heal?
Interesting.
They have, if somebody has, lead poisoning or mercury poisoning, they can die instantly, right?
Right.
If somebody has to have something like arsenic poisoning, they will die instantly, because that's how powerful it is. But what we do with Rasa Shastra, we take these metals, we take these minerals from the earth, we purify them. There are specific methods of purification. There are specific things that we have to use to purify these metals. We bring them down to what we call ash. in Sanskrit it's called bhasma. Bhasma means ash. It is so minute, it is so small, it can reach right down to the tissues. But of course, we only give this to patients after the metals have been purified. They have to be purified because in their raw form, they are toxic to the body. Now, the same applies to any herbal medicine, for that matter. There's a bunch of herbs that are good for the body that really don't need any purification. Okay, and then you get some herbs that are poison; they are toxins. So we take those, we also purify those in different methods, and we give those poisons as medicine, because according to Ayurvedic medicine, nothing on earth, absolutely nothing on earth, cannot be used as medicine. Everything is made up of the same 5 elements that we are made up of. So everything in the earth can heal us.
Interesting.
So basically, to answer your question, we take the metals. We don't use it in its raw form, which is toxic. We take it, we purify it, we make it into really small, fine ash, and we administer this in different methods into the body as medicine. And it works far better even than herbal medicines. And the best thing about these metals is that they have an infinite shelf life. If you have to purify mercury, for example, it is a life-giving medicine, actually. Mercury is one of the best things for the human body, and gold, of course. Gold is also used in Ayurvedic medicine. We use gold ash, we use diamond ash, we use all things like that to treat the body. And these things, they don't expire. Let's just say that. That is the best part about using metals and minerals to treat the body in Ayurveda, is that they do not expire at all.
Right. So let's just say, for example, when we have too much mercury in our body and it's binding with candida, and we are experiencing brain fog and other symptoms that are associated with mercury poisoning and candida symptoms, would you treat this with more metals, and would that pull the metal off of the yeast and then cleanse? No?
No. If you have metal poisoning in your body, we have to get it out of the body. And we don't use metals to get it out of the body. We will detoxify the body. We will detoxify the body with herbs, with other yogic practices, yoga. We will do yoga. We will do several other practices to detoxify the body. But no, we do not use metals to counter metals. No, we don't do that.
And when would you use metals to heal the body?
There's several instances when you will use metals. See, there's different metal preparations. It's not completely metal. We have what we call herbal mineral medicines in Ayurveda, which combines some metals and minerals and herbs as well. Now, I'll give you an example, which is really a good example, and I wish I had this medicine available to me not so long ago. There is a medicine that is given for acidity, okay? And it has mercury in it. It has sulfur in it. It has, several other minerals in it and metals in it. And it is one of the best medicines to be given for acidity because it reduces it instantly, right? But because it is illegal in this country to bring in these medicines, these beneficial medicines, we cannot bring it in. So we have to subside it with several other things, acidity with like milk, for example. We would have to give milk. We have to give several other things. But these medicines are actually some of the best that we could use, but it's not available here.
Well, what do you think about vaccines? Because vaccines contain metals and a virus.
I think vaccines are extremely needed. A lot of people are very much against it in this country but I feel that vaccines are needed. See, when you have when you have the virus or the bacteria given to a baby, for example, the human body naturally builds immunity to it because it's not given in such a huge dose. Okay, that's how vaccines work. If you have to give it in small amounts to a baby, the baby builds, the natural response of the body is to build that immunity against that bacteria. That is the purpose of a vaccine. So now if you don't build the immunity towards this bacteria, later on in life when the body gets exposed to this bacteria from some source, it is not protected. The body is just not protected. And that's how all these diseases which were once eradicated are coming back. It's because people are not, vaccinating their kids. And it's dangerous.
Well, yeah. I mean, I definitely would have to disagree on that point with you just because I've done a lot of research on vaccines, and I know that you are a doctor, but I don't know if I, in America, would feel comfortable injecting my child because I've talked to too many people that after vaccines, they're now vaccine injured. And there is so many elements out there that that play into the role now of becoming vaccine injured because of the fact that there are these other elements. For example, glyphosate that plays a role into harming children and having the metal elements, aluminum and mercury, and that goes to the brain and causing, I don't know, could cause autism. We're not sure. Could cause a gamut of other things. But, I do want to stick on the topic of Ayurvedic medicine, and thank you so much for sharing your view on that, because it's definitely a different view than what we are talking about on the summit. So I appreciate that.
Well, you have to also take a look at something else in Ayurveda. We have it's actually a process of immunization for children. It's very, very old. It's not very practiced. I mean, in the U.S., people have never heard of it. But when a child is born in India predominantly, there are several different procedures that we do. It's considered traditional now. People consider it more of a traditional type of thing, and not everybody does it because everybody is now following the Western part. But there are some traditions that are still followed very much in India, where kids don't even get immunized. They don't get vaccines there because we have things like there's one medicine. It's not really a medicine. It's a preparation that is given to kids. It's called Suvarna Prashan. Suvarna is gold. And it is literally gold. It is the metal gold that is given in small quantities to a child, and it's given with ghee. I don't know if you've heard of ghee.
Absolutely. If you want to just describe it to our listeners, that would be fantastic.
Yes. So Suvarna Prashan is a specific preparation that is made with gold, and it's cooked in ghee. It's cooked in several other things as well as honey. And this medicine is given to a child from the time they are born, and it naturally builds up their immunity. So the traditional Ayurvedic way of vaccination is to give a child Suvarna Prashan. We don't usually pump them up with chemicals or things like that, but this is our Ayurvedic natural way of immunization for children. So I do hope to introduce this into the U.S. Right now, it is not introduced into the U.S. Many people have not even heard of this, but it is a traditional, way of life in India. And as part of Ayurvedic medicine, it's very important. And the gold preparation actually protects children from diseases later on in life.
That sounds
apart
wonderful.
from that,
we can't wait for that to come into the U.S.
Oh, yes. Well, first they have to prove the metals, I mean, how else am I going to bring gold in?
Right. True.
Yeah. So that is one way. But then, there is something that I had learned about a long time ago. Of course, I have not practiced it myself, but in India, in certain villages, it's still done actually, that when a child is really little, they are actually given a snake bite.
Mm.
They're given a snake bite so that they become immune to that venom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much how vaccines work. It's like you introduce the bacteria at a young age, and the body's natural response is to fight against it, so that if it has to occur later on in life, the body is already prepared.
Mm-hmm. And that natural form of vaccination would be okay with me. Maybe that was a bit scary, but, I just don't feel that in my own intuition as a mother that what the serum is in America is correct for my children. And that is just my own personal view on what I have researched on myself. So,
right.
I think that what the alternatives in India, I think are great that you're suggesting. And I do see the theory behind it. I do understand that. It makes complete sense. But at the same time, what is made up of in the vaccine serums doesn't make sense to me. Polysorbate 80, aluminum and thimerosal, and those are extremely toxic to the body, and even in small amounts doesn't make any sense to me because the baby is so small and cannot tolerate those toxins even in a small dose. And what I have seen and have experienced is that, the baby will have some sort of an allergic reaction, whether it's ear infections later down the road. And I know that there's a different way of looking at it and through the eyes of Ayurvedic medicine, but here in America, this is what we see. This is what we have been experiencing, and disease is an illness and gut problems and brain problems, and all running very rampant here. And there's a reason to that. And just like how you said, you have to get to the root cause, and maybe the root cause was the American vaccine.
I mean, it could be. It could be, but at the same time, it is also important to take another concept into your mind, and that is that when a person is born, that is not when they are actually developing. They are developing from the time of conception. The Ayurvedic concept is that we are developing from the time the sperm and the ovum meet. So it is important, if you want to have healthy children, this is something I would tell any parent, expecting parent, is that if you want to have healthy children, you have to be healthy, because this is your genes going into the child that you produce.
Right.
The 5 elements from your body are going to combine with the 5 elements of your partner's body, and that is going to be the combination that your child is made up of. So in Ayurveda, we believe in cleansing the body before a person even decides to have a child.
Sure. I agree. Absolutely.
So that is another important thing. I mean, we cannot completely blame it on vaccines and things like that. Those have contributed, yes. But there are several factors as well to what, creates disease.
Absolutely. I agree with that too. I want to just shift this a bit, and I want to just ask you a question about, well, on your Facebook, people are going to see that you also have not only Ayurvedic medicine that you are an expert in, but you are a yogi and tarot?
Yes.
So I want to know, how does Ayurvedic medicine and tarot, what do they have in common?
Well, it's not just tarot. Tarot is one of the many things that I do metaphysically for my patients, for my clients. I also embrace what we call Vedic Astrology. So I don't know if you've heard of Vedic Astrology.
No, but please elaborate.
Okay. Vedic Astrology, I mean, tarot is just as important, but Vedic Astrology is more of what we focus on in my business. And that is basically, it's a sister science to Ayurveda. Vedic Astrology uses the time of birth, your place of birth, to determine how your life is going to play out based on where the planets were situated in the sky at your time of birth. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but it is crazy accurate. Let's just say that.
It doesn't sound crazy to me, by the way.
Okay.
Totally makes sense.
So with Vedic Astrology, we have to ask our clients, where were you born? At what time were you born, and the date that you were born, and we draw up a chart, okay, and this chart is called a kundali. And in this chart, we can see a person's entire life. We can see their past life, and we can even see future lives. It is possible to see this from this birth chart because what we analyze is the position of the different planets in the sky at that particular person's time of birth, which is, absolutely unique to them. It goes right down to the minute. Okay. So we take these charts, we analyze these charts, and we look at several different patterns in the chart. We can see from a person's birth chart what diseases they are prone to. We can also see what doshas they are predominant in. Because, each planet has its own doshas as well, its own characteristics. Say for example, we took Mars, planet Mars. Mars is a fiery planet. It has lots of fire. So we can say that if a person is an Aries ascendant or a Scorpio ascendant, we can see that they have a lot of fire. Sorry, not a Scorpio, but a Leo or Sagittarius. We can see that they have a lot of fire. And it will further be proved in Ayurveda that they are like that. So we look at several different things from a person's birth chart. We can see the diseases that they are prone to have. We can see their karmic patterns. We can see the kind of lifestyle that they may have, the stress that they may have, the children that they may have or may not have. Say, for instance, someone comes to you and they say, I cannot have kids. I've been trying to have kids for a long time, and I just cannot have kids. So as a physician, what I would do is I would assess them physically, with the Ayurvedic assessment, and then I would ask them for their birth time. I would look at their chart. I would analyze, okay, are you destined for children? Because I cannot change someone's destiny. I can definitely assist them to try to have a child, but if it is not in their destiny, it's not in their karmic destiny to have a child, I cannot change that. That is their karma. Okay? And then in the chart I would see, okay, this person is probably going through a time period right now where it's difficult to have a child, but there is potential for it. So what we will do is we will do specific, prayers and mantra chanting and, different types of remedies so that this person will eventually have the children that they desire. And together with that, I combine it with Ayurveda to treat them in their body. Like, say, for instance, they have the potential to have a child. I see it in their chart that they are going to have a child, but the obstruction is, due to their health. There's something wrong with their health. And in that case, I would help them in their health. And once we improve that, they can have children. So that's how you use these sciences as a medical professional. That's how I use these sciences. And tarot, tarot is more based on psychology. It works on the thoughts. It works on the principle of energy. when I do a tarot reading for someone, I am focusing on their energy. If they have a specific question in their mind and they draw certain cards, it's going to pick up on the energy and it's going to give them the answer, that they are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, human beings have consciousness. Okay, in Ayurveda, in Vedic science, it is called Chetana. It is called consciousness. We already have all the answers that we need.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to seek it from anyone else. We are infinite beings that already have all the answers that we need within us. So when somebody asks a question from the tarot cards, I'm not giving them the answer. I'm interpreting the card, but I am not giving them the answer. Their energy picks that card. Their energy gives them the answer. I just interpret it.
I see.
You understand?
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
What a wonderful, holistic way to look at medicine and the whole being.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I love the fact that we're looking at every individual. It goes back to the concept that I learned of bioindividuality, where that we are treating the whole person as an individual, not as a group. And I love that. Yes. And so the fact that you combine all those different modalities is fantastic. So I want to thank you so much for being on Mega Wellness Summit. You are a wealth of information, and I hope that everyone can contact you and have a session or get their answers, get their questions answered by you. And
definitely.
So, yeah, I will have all of your information up for people to contact you.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, because you're on all social media platforms, and so you're easy to connect with. And so I will have all those links ready and available for everybody to just click and find you easily. So thank you so much. I appreciate this, Dr. Isha, more than you know.
Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be a part of this.
Good. Thank you so much.